You're listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast with me, your host, Mike Kelzer. Well, hello, Neal.
Hi, Mike. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm sorry. I'm talking like you're a puppy. I just got a puppy in my house. So that's all it's like when you first get a baby and you're like, ooh, boo, boo, so you're a good boy, Mike. You're a good boy.
I haven't been called a good boy in a long time.
You deserve it.
So, Neal, for those who haven't come across you online, introduce yourself and tell our listeners why we're talking today.
Yeah, no problem. So my name is Neal Smoller, drnealsmoller.com. I am a pharmacist. I call myself a holistic pharmacist. I specialize in giving people the quality, results, and information that the natural products industry promises to deliver, but fails to. So I also work as a business coach for supplement and like wellness entrepreneurs. And we have a online school called Supplement School, where we educate folks on how to build a wellness practice with their expertise at the center. So that's kind of the stuff that I do. I'm also an independent pharmacy owner in Woodstock, New York, where the aging hippies get their drugs. And, and so I've got a lot of stuff going on. And right now, the reason that you and I are talking is because I want to talk about COVID vaccines.
All right, you can talk about them, but first I'm going to ask you this. Why are you doing them? It seems to me, Neal, when I look at your stuff and all the stuff that you got going on, that you've got enough going on that you wouldn't need to take on something like this. Tell me why you're doing it.
It's the last thing that I need to do right now. But
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Why would you do this?
It's the first thing that I want to do, though, because I can what I've done through the entire pandemic has been providing people with the direction and almost the leadership that they need to navigate. So from day one with our blog and even locally in our pharmacy, my goal has been to help give them the real information, not the BS, not the stuff the charlatans putting out there, but which supplement's going to prevent COVID and all that nonsense, right?
Yeah.
So helping people through, and I've been sitting here like, put me in, coach, right? I want to help in some way to either end this pandemic or treat the pandemic or step up in some way. And I feel like this is the opportunity. In fact, what I've been trying to show people is that this pharmacists, especially independent pharmacists, can be the ones that end it quickly because it's inevitable. These doses by the end of the year will get in people's arms. And if it was up to the chains, it would take, 100 doses a week and they would eventually get there. But independent pharmacies that are aggressive can do like what we're doing this week, which is 4,000 doses in 3 days.
You guys are.
We are.
Wow.
So I believe that we can help end the pandemic for people, help people restore their lives. I believe that we can show the world the strength of independent pharmacy, and there is still a financial incentive here, right? The COVID vaccines are paying out much better than lisinopril. And so from my perspective, it makes a lot of sense for us to take these on. The reimbursement for Medicare is $18 for the first one and about $30 for the second one. So both of those are very solid reimbursements, especially compared to the pile of garbage that we're used to dealing with.
It's a little bit different this time, right? Because we finally get paid as like a healthcare person?
The way that it's working is just like a traditional vaccine. You have two costs. You have the cost of the vaccine itself, the cost of the administration fee. Okay? So those two costs are always a part of it, but the vaccines are being provided by the state and federal governments. So we aren't billing for that. We're only billing for the administration fee. So that's what we're getting paid for. We're getting paid for from like a professional standpoint on the administration of the vaccine. And the nice part is that all the ancillary supplies, alcohol swabs, syringes, all of that stuff is being supplied to us by the state governments too. There are some marginal costs that we have to pick up. And one of the things I want to talk about is how in order for us to be able to accelerate and almost like force multiply, our efforts is to use an army of volunteers. Because if we had to pay staff to help us with this, we would go broke in no time. How do you provide 1,700 immunizations a day? Well, you do it with 60 people. You have 30 people inside for a 5-hour shift and then you have about 10 people outside for a 5-hour shift, and then they switch, So we have to use, and then that's not even addressing like the billing. Like we have to bill each of these prescriptions. And I've got a small pharmacy. I don't really, pay attention much to pharmacy these days. And 3,000 is about what I do in a month. And we're going to do that over 3 days. And then we're going to have to get the claims into the computer and actually get reimbursed for it.
Wow.
So it's a tremendous undertaking, but I believe that the goodwill and the current financial situation justify our efforts.
I went to Catholic school growing up, and they always said that Catholic tuition went up so high now because years ago, the schools could just hire nuns and they wouldn't pay them anything hardly. So I'm trying to hire a bunch of nuns for the pharmacy.
I think that's a smart idea.
But I haven't done very well. And the next thing I would rather do is get someone to volunteer. So how are you finding people to volunteer for you? They're not going to start getting like your name branded on them next, are they? That sounds like a cult kind of thing.
I kind of want it to be a cult. I'm really into it. It seems like that's where this world is going, is like just a cult of personality, right? And everybody's following some cult leader.
Now, wait a minute. So what else do you mean?
They're going to make a Neal flag, put it on my truck.
What do you mean you volunteers? Tell me about that.
What I've been saying since the beginning of this is that I'm just trying to mirror the effort that community leaders have been doing for decades before me, right? So they've been really going above and beyond for the people that live in this area for a long time, right? And I've been just trying to at least give that, right, in a short amount of time to do this. And that's pretty inspirational, right? A lot of people are saying, oh, wow, that's really great. And what he's trying to do is awesome. I want to be a part of it, And I've been pretty clear, like, I need volunteers. I can't pay people. Otherwise, I won't be able to provide the vaccines at the rate that they are. And so people want to be a part of this solution. They want to get this over for folks. They want to be a part of our system because of like how much fun we make it, And so we just basically have a whole system for acquiring volunteers, from like, hey, I'm interested in a volunteer. They email, they get a response back. They fill out a volunteer form, which asks them their availability, night, evening shifts, how many days a week. Are they medical professionals? They have their own insurance? Because I'm using nurses and pharmacists to draw up doses and administer them. At 1,700 doses a day, I can't be the guy stabbing people, right? I have to make sure that this whole machine's working.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm going to be like running around a bunch. So we're going to be using lots of different volunteers to staff all these different positions. And like the immunizers, the professionals, I'm hooking them up. And this is a really interesting thing. I didn't put this, we'll talk about like the training that I have for folks, but like I didn't put this in the training. The volunteers that I want to say thank you to, I'm buying gift cards, $25 gift cards to all of the different restaurants in town, plus $25 to the food pantry. So everybody gets $125 for volunteering for me for a 5-hour shift, right? And then they're getting, like a small gift card, so they'll have to spend more at that restaurant, right, out of pocket. And it's supporting my restaurateur friends that are business owners in town that got their teeth kicked in this past year, right? So it's a cool mechanism for me to say thank you and then support the local businesses and the food pantry, again, because if somebody is immunizing and they're doing 40 shots an hour and we're getting paid $20 for it, then, that 5-hour, revenue versus the cost, it's pretty clear how, it's still profitable to give them the gift cards, So, yeah.
Our listeners, some are from more rural towns and some are from cities with a ton of chain pharmacies within, let's say within 5 miles, they might have 50 chain pharmacies or something like that. Does your ideas that you started, would that be different if you were in a bigger city with a bigger hospital like 3 miles from you? So I want to take our listeners along this path that you set out. Would it be different if you were in a different sized city, or would this still play out the same?
I think that community pharmacists have roots in their community no matter how big it is, whether it's the entirety of it or if it's just like the few blocks around you, And I think that this is an opportunity for you to, if you don't have those relationships, to create them and then or fortify them, and let people know that you're here and you're a part of that community, however big that world is. And I will say that if it weren't for me getting lucky at the beginning, I probably wouldn't be having this conversation, because there's a lot of folks that haven't got doses yet. And, for us, Governor Cuomo said, pharmacies you're in, I got 100 doses the first week, and we kind of were like testing our model. And then we figured out that we can actually like really burn down the building. Like we can really like cook, right? So the next week I got 200. And then the week after that, I got 700. I was the only private practitioner that got doses the second 2 weeks, right? And so that got a lot of media attention, and like, especially because I took some of those doses and I went directly to communities where there were people of color or people that had access issues and try to solve the inequity issues, right? So I was getting lots of media attention to our efforts, right? And so, but then what happened was I got nothing. I got no doses for 2 to 3 weeks. Nothing came. We begged, and we had a contact, and we got an extra 100 doses last week, first doses. And then all of a sudden this week we get an email or a phone call, and they're like, hey, can you actually use the 3,200 doses that you pre-book every week for the past 11 weeks? And I'm like, I could do that in 3 days, lady. She started cracking up, and come to find out, they actually made that same call to our county, like the executive. And they said, yeah, we know that he can definitely move those units. And so sure enough, later that night, we got the 3,200 doses. So here we are. So now we're now in this place where we've tried every different possible scenario for immunizing, and we've lucked out. We've gotten the doses, and we've shown that what we can do. And there's people now that are speaking for us saying, yes, they can do that because we created this system. And I believe that can and should be repeated in a ton of different areas. So so if you're getting choked out because CVS is getting all the doses and you're not getting any doses, it's extremely frustrating because you can't even, get the opportunity, and it really stinks. That stinks. And that's what the problem is. But soon the doses are going to start moving to the pharmacies themselves directly from the CDC if you're part of CPSN and all of those kinds of things, right? You're a part of the federal partner program. And I believe that February was the worst month. It's the lowest point of the supply. And I believe that March is going to be the start of the biggest, right? And so people are going to really start to move. And I think that opportunity will come up even if they were kind of iced out before because of the hospitals and whatever.
If someone has not ever even immunized, should they be listening to us? If someone has immunized but hasn't even looked into COVID yet, should they be listening? Who is this probably too late for? And is this just a practice in you looking back for maybe the next time this happens? Or is this still valid that people should say there's still time left to maybe listen to you and still set up their own COVID stuff? I mean, I decided a long time ago, part of the reason because I lost some pharmacists, and I never liked that up and down supply because I would always promise something, or in my mind I would promise a vaccination, and then it, flu stuff over the years, then it wouldn't show up. Yeah. And we're in a city with just a gob of medical places. So I'm like, let someone else do it. All right. Yeah. So that's my answer. I'll never get into it, at least not that I think I would. But who could get into this still?
I think everybody should be running an immunization program in their pharmacies. I think you're missing a huge opportunity.
Even if they have done no immunizations before?
Well, I mean, I think that if we take it a step back, you should be doing immunizations. Like if you have an independent pharmacy, you should be doing immunizations.
What if you're an old fart that's lazy? I'm not saying I know one. I'm just saying, what if there is a lazy old fart?
I'm sure there's I know lazy young dudes that didn't want to do it, right? My buddy who, before he sold the store, he's like, I'm not doing immunizations. Screw all of that, Like, I'm not doing that. But, our peer group, we're like, you're missing a huge opportunity because, that's like 1,000 transactions that you don't really have to do much more for. You just have to have like a little area for them, and you make $15 on each one. Like what's the big deal there? So,
well, when I talked to one of the guys in my business, and I said, because I had lost some pharmacists, and then one of them went on maternity leave and stuff, and I said to one of my customers, it's like, this is before COVID. I'm like, I kind of feel guilty. I don't do immunizations. I gave them the line about what I was telling you about the fluctuation in supply and all that stuff. Yeah. And when they left, one of my workers said, why would you want to do those? We don't get paid crap for any immunization. So why would we want to do those? And maybe he was just saying that to make me feel better. But is the money there in general for immunizations? Let's say minus COVID. Would the money have been there in general for immunizations?
I think so. I think it's enough. I think it's enough for me. Like the problematic ones are the Medicare D vaccines because the DIR fees hit those. So,
I gotcha.
That's a nightmare. You don't want to do those for Medicare D patients because it's like, okay, they'll pay you $190 for a shingles vaccine. It costs you maybe $160 to do it. And then they take away $30 for a DIR fee.
Gotcha.
And then you've just lost money on the transaction, and it doesn't make sense to do it, especially because it costs you $2,000 for the inventory. So our rule with shingles vaccines is that if we have a box, I want all of the box to be used up in a day. Like, otherwise we don't have a box, so that way we schedule 10 and we get rid of 10 and that's it. So that way we're not sitting on the inventory, because it's already bad enough, the reimbursement.
Is part of that so you can focus, that maybe the next 10 people may not be Medicare D, they might be from this employee group or something, or?
We hope so, you just hope that you're not going to get screwed. But I mean, this speaks to the bigger issue of what's wrong with our minds. I'm sure there's a lot of folks listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast that are pharmacists. Maybe they have a friend in another business and ask them if their friend owned a catering business and they went to do a catering gig and they lost $20 on it. Would they go back and do that catering gig again? Right. And so what's wrong with our brains, right? We are in this business where we're providing a service, and generations ago, they failed us with their allowance of this system to be put in place without standing up as a unified voice. And here we are, right? So I would say that immunizations are a value-added service that brings some traffic to your pharmacy that may not necessarily always be there. And I believe that if you do flu shots and Medicare B type things, you'll make more money than you'll make on their other stuff. And so I do feel like immunizations are worth it. Now, COVID immunizations are worth it for the goodwill, for ending this damn pandemic, and for the reimbursement right now. Now, when we move to private pay, I don't think it's going to be there. I think Johnson & Johnson is going to be the death of us. So I'm really focusing on the seniors for right now. So.
Private pay. So if it's a employee coming in, third party, and the pharmacies have to buy it and so on, then it's going to fall apart again.
I think so, because of course it's going to.
But Neal, so someone's listening and they're like, all right, I haven't been doing this yet, and now I got this charming voice on the other end of the line saying that I should be doing this. And then why though? We start in, and then you're saying that it's not going to be worth it again. So why should anybody even take the energy to even listen to this, much less believe what you're saying or try to even picture this in their own pharmacy?
Well, I mean, if I do 4,000 doses this week, that'll be 30 hours, right? And then we'll have to do 30 hours for the second doses, and 4,000 times 48 is about $180,000.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you do 4,000 over the next 6 months, that's exactly equal to the DIR fees that were ripped out of my pharmacy this past year.
Somebody probably couldn't do this if they're not already injecting.
I mean, I believe that you could get something because there's 300 million Americans that are going to get immunized.
Yeah.
And there's going to be plenty of opportunity. So I think there's going to be, and then the other thing I'll say, and part of what I wanted to talk to you about is the logistical nightmare this is. So if you look at the chains, and most people hate going to the chains for these things because it's they're doing 30 a day and it's everything's everywhere and it's a mess. And so just the customer service side of things, and this is one of the things I talk about. So I guess let me just say this. So the reason I wanted to come on here is so more pharmacists can hear that I'm offering a free supplement school course on coronavirus vaccine mass delivery. So
Gotcha.
I created it already. It's at drnealsmoller.com/courses. And it's the only course that's there because we're moving Supplement School over to my new site. And
it's a lovely site, by the way.
Thank you.
Your site is really flashy.
Thank you. I will say that January 1st was our goal to move to this and like be this guy. I hate Dr. Neal. I absolutely do. I don't want to be known as the guy. I never really, but the truth is that people rally around the personality. Like we were talking about the cult of personality, right? And so I finally embraced it a couple years ago, but it's something that I've resisted for 10 years because I could have done this 10 years ago with my supplements and everything, but I always try to do the retail, the brand first. I was a very old school guy in that regard. So it's hard, to see all the Dr. Neal stuff. And with the vaccine, we used my Dr. Neal site because it had more resources, like we have more money on that site. So it made it easier to put all the stuff in there. And, so there's Dr. Neal. My staff is like, oh, Dr. Neal, he's so great. He's given us the COVID, and it's just like, But anyway, so the January was the goal to move everything over to the site. And then January 5th is when Cuomo's like, you're in, mofo, get ready. And so basically all of our targets to like get the site functional, like move our online store there and like put in all of our like, here's your health quiz and Dr. Neal, like all of that stuff. So if somebody goes there and sees that it's like half-arsed, I'm sorry. It's just COVID vaccines have gotten in the way.
For our listeners, that branding thing is that you've got a few different things you could be in. You've got your store, which is Village Apothecary. Then you've got your Woodstock vitamins. In theory, you could have had a website for that and kind of had a Q&A on that and how is this going to help and all that stuff. And then you've got Dr. Neal's site and your healthcare consultants and friends and you said, hey, this should go Dr. Neal, put a face behind it instead of a company behind it. But then it all hit and it hit fast. So instead of saying, our Pharmacy Village Apothecary is doing these shots and let's get the Q&A and the fill out the forms and all that there, you did it under
me,
Dr. Neal. Why?
Yeah. Partly because the site had more resources and partly because I wanted the search juice, the Google juice, because we were moving our site from Woodstock Vitamins, where my blog lived, over to Google.
Oh, and is that Woodstock? Gotcha.
Yeah, it was woodstockvitamins.com is where I was living before, because that's how I felt, like under a brand. And then I'm like, that's not really the way I want to go.
Yeah.
So I wanted the search juice. I wanted, the clicks on the page that made the page very legitimate, that folks are coming. And I wanted people to start to know me as Dr. Neal in the event that pharmacy blows up. I want to have my plan B ready, you know? And so my plan B is helping other pharmacists not have to make that decision. I want to have them build a supplement business where they have this huge influx of like gross profit to offset their losses and potentially generate profit, but then also tee them up for their own plan B in the event that their pharmacy goes, right? So let's just imagine that you have your pharmacy and you want to start getting into supplements. Well, you have two paths. You can be the charlatan. You can go with the trendy stuff. You can, there's everybody and their mother will teach you how to, about omega-3 and everything like that, right? And you can get into the trends and the gimmicks, or you can do what I did, which is to look at it and say, listen, I'm a pharmacist, right? I care about everything that goes into people's bodies. So how are these things made, and like what's real and what's not based on the real science, right? And I feel like pharmacists are really good at copying other successful people, but never inventing for themselves. And so I feel like pharmacists need to kind of like get flicked in the head a little bit and realize that if we go on that other path where we say, I'm the pharmacist that knows about medicines and therapeutics and clinical trials and can sort good from bad and manufacturing, product quality, compounding, all of that stuff. I'm the perfect person to lead holistic care and supplements and that advice, right? And then it puts you in such a radically better strategic position, business position, than anybody else out there that's doing supplements. And so I want our pharmacists, the thing is, like, we're talking about vaccines, right?
Yeah.
And so what are we doing, right? You and I are following the practice wherever it's going, right? So like, and what I find with a lot of these like pharmacy, like leadership groups and stuff is like, what's the new trick, right? And we're just kind of like trying to like get the scraps on the table. And we're just letting it lead us around. We haven't really like set the agenda for what
Right.
should be the practice of pharmacy. And that's where a lot of these like smarter folks are saying, like CPSN and stuff, they're saying like, this is what we should be,
Yeah.
right? And I believe that we have to add holistic care to it. And like holistic, not in the sense that you would Google holistic or you would think about holistic where it's like alternative medicine or just like pseudoscience nonsense, taking that word back and make it mean truly holistic. So lifestyle choices like diet, stress, sleep, exercise, environment, right? And knowing how to teach people how to do that right. Supplements and doing it in a strategic manner based on what we know about medications and how, how therapeutics, pharmaceuticals work. And then conventional care. So like how to manage diseases, like honestly, and like based on science, right? So I feel like I want in my next phase of life to help direct the practice of pharmacy back towards that and stop with this, because part of the problem is, right, that we've kind of let it go. Like doctors, pharmacists, we're just like, oh, that's BS, right? And we just like are dismissive about it. And then folks, where do they go? They go to the person that's talking what they want to hear. They go to the alternative practitioner who's, and sometimes it's fine, but a lot of the times it's not. They're giving
Right.
them bad information and they're ripping them off. At best, they're ripping them off. At worst, they're hurting them, right?
Right.
And so we've relinquished our leadership role. And I believe that pharmacists should take that back, and we should be directing our practice, especially us in the community, towards righting that wrong finally, right? And making people think of pharmacists not just as the guy that puts the pill in the bottle and loses money doing it, but as the person that will fix my health problems, right? Prevent future health problems.
So right now it's Dr. Neal, and someone goes to your site and it talks about holistic this and that. What if like all of a sudden you've got this great thing, because a lot of people probably weren't able to have people volunteer for them and things like that. It sounds like I'm talking to Tom Sawyer. Did you ever see that movie?
Isn't that song by Rush?
That's that, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But
yeah.
for us old farts, Tom Sawyer was by Samuel Clemens. What's the heck is his name? Mark Twain. Anyways, he got all of his friends to come and volunteer to paint his thing for him.
That's cool.
Just as an offshoot, what if all of a sudden people come to you for the guru to do these kind of things? Would you have to have another offshoot of a website like Neal's Consulting for Pharmacy? Because this site is not intended really to draw pharmacists on this. It's really intended to draw them on your healthcare stuff.
It's going to be pro.drnealsmoller.com. And that part of it is going to have supplement school. It's going to have our wholesale business and my coaching. One of the other services that I provide, I work with wellness influencers to design their own formulations, like supplements and stuff.
So this will be a different site than the Dr. Neal site.
It's going to be the Dr. Neal site. So it'll be pro.drnealsmoller.com.
Oh, I saw that, where you can get into either site depending on what you click, basically.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
the
exactly.
people who are not using you for the pro stuff, they'll figure that they're there for some reason, but they don't know that they might be going to your site on how to be like a Chippendale or something like that.
Maybe.
That
With a dad bod. I don't know.
But that'll all be hidden, right, under the pro stuff, basically.
Yeah. So the way that I've set my site up is to be directed towards consumers.
Gotcha.
Because that's where I put a lot of my blog effort, is towards being that consumer guru. And I've got some really interesting things coming up with that.
Yeah.
But in the footer and at the heading, there's going to be like if you're a healthcare professional,
Gotcha.
click here. And then that will take people to the pro site.
Gotcha.
And so like right now it's all like, if you go to that course, that free course that I'm offering, that will be like just on the regular Dr. Neal site.
Oh, I gotcha.
Again, like we've gotten so distracted with COVID that like we haven't been able to do much of anything. So, but yeah, so soon the wholesaling will be there, the supplement school and my coaching services will all be on the pro site. So then if you're a healthcare professional, you can go there. And my intention is to spend the next year helping people build their supplement practice. We had, after you and I talked last time, we were talking about supplement school. We had a number of folks sign up, but then COVID hit, and then everybody said, I can't think about this right now. And so we have probably 30, 40 people that are just waiting for COVID to like loosen up. And what I offered everybody, because, it's a frustrating time, like lots of grace, like we're going to help them go above and beyond just to make sure that they feel taken care of. But I do think that it's important for us to start thinking in a pre and post COVID standpoint. So right now, your focus should be building an immunization program to some degree. And if you can get it scaled up like my crazy place, then do that. And then what's your plan for post-COVID? Because there's going to be a transitional period where everybody's going to be like kind of coming out of the caves and stretching and like, you know, getting the cobwebs out of their ears and stuff like that. And then there's a lot of fat people because they've been overeating to help with COVID. And there's going to be a lot of people looking to lose weight and be healthier again. So we want to be positioned.
Post-COVID's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool.
It's, you know, like the roaring 20s, you know?
All right. I got a question for you.
Sure.
In the last couple months, I could see my listenership. It would kind of go up and then COVID hit because of people maybe not doing as much driving to work and stuff. And then it happened again after, 8 months when something else happened. It's been down a little bit lately too. And my contention is that a lot of the pharmacists are just so damn busy right now. Is that true?
Oh my God, it's insane. Like nobody has time to look up. The testing is profitable. Vaccines are profitable right now. So folks are just really busy focusing on that. Plus then everybody's workload is higher because we're now doing curbside pickup and more deliveries.
Yes, that's true.
It's just nuts. Everybody, and like dealing with pharmacists anyway is like herding cats. But, like it's a very difficult time for us. We're very busy, but then on the other end, so this is what I said to like my accountant, as busy as it was the year before, if not busier, making less money. Right. And because the DIR fees are so dramatic, our gross profit per prescription was around 17, 18, 3 or 4 years ago. Right. And then last year was when it really kind of jumped off a cliff and went down to like 12. And then I think we're at like 10 right now. And that is not, I mean, I sell a ton of supplements, right? So that's, I've got like a multi-7-figure business with that. So like I'm moving units, but it's
online mainly.
No, actually like 50-50. It's like really strong retail.
Wow.
And like, so the thing about supplement sales is if you're over $1 million in a local store, you're in like top 10% because that's how much it's fragmented. So we've been there for a bit, right? Wow. And like we're pretty strong there. So then we also have our online stuff too. And so like I said, it's like 50-50. And like, I would never recommend an online business to anybody, just so we're clear. Like
we talked about that. It's just you have to put so much into marketing for
it's insane
to get people's attention.
And one of the goals for me for this next year is to be a supplement coach and a business coach, but to be a marketing coach. Pharmacists suck at marketing. We have no idea how to think about it. And like, I teach people like in supplement school about just the sales process, right? Because we are not used to thinking like sales. We just want to make recommendations. And I'm with you. I don't want to be a sleazy sales guy either, but we have to understand like how people think and engage with brands and products and be able to navigate and push people through a sales funnel in some degree to effectively do that. But then you have to think globally in a marketing standpoint, right? So like, what's our campaign? How are we running it? How do we educate our staff? Like, how do we measure our success? Every student in supplement school, I Google their name, and 9 times out of 10, I can't even find them.
Really? Isn't that something?
Yeah. So if I Google Mike Kelzer, I can find you, right? Because you're putting your name, your face on everything, right?
Yeah.
The about page, and like you might even, I don't even have MikeKelzer.com or not, but anyway, but like some people will have that. Most folks, I can't even get to them. Like even on their pharmacy page, like it should, like let's just say it's Neal, villageapothecaryrx.com has a Dr. Neal page, and it's got my picture and everything like that. It has my story. So that way, if I'm Googled, I'll come up there and it'll be there. It'll be my page. It'll be Woodstock Vitamins, like everywhere. So like these are the basics that pharmacists just aren't hip with. And there's plenty of like marketing programs that pharmacists can buy, but they're all BS. Everybody knows that, right? You spend $300 a month and they do stuff for you and they never really do anything. They never deliver.
You mean the ones that pharmacies can sign up for?
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Yeah. And because what pharmacists want from all of this, from supplements, from COVID vaccines, from marketing in general, is turnkey. They want to just like be the pharmacist and then just throw some crap on the shelf and then it move, right?
Yeah.
But really, and what I tell folks when they're joining supplement school is like, this isn't that. This isn't Field of Dreams. You have to become, this is your personality now. This is who you are. You have to be the holistic pharmacist of your region, right? You have to think and breathe holistic care. And yes, supplements will be a part of that. So will pharmacy. And this is now who you are. So like you have to really kind of change your frame of mind a bunch, because we're so used to like, okay, so what's the next gimmick? Oh, we'll put greeting cards. Okay, what's the next gimmick? Let's put dolls in, because it's a gift cards. And like that doesn't work. Those guys are dead and dying. And like, if you want to stay in this game, you got to get innovative, and you got to change who people think that we are,
Yeah. And
that's why with like COVID vaccines, like the recognition, the excitement, the thanks, right? Like our business has grown 20% in script volume because of what I'm doing. Like these people are like, oh, I know you've been here for a decade, but I see you now, Because of COVID stuff. Yeah, because I'm the one hustling and I'm in the news and like I'm, because again, like I know that it's all it is messaging, right? So I am contacting all of the media and I'm saying, listen, I'm doing COVID vaccines here, right? And so the local paper is like, okay, great, let's go take pictures. And then it starts there. And then I got an NPR and I was an NBC News. So that is like 50% of the work is making sure that people get it, right? What you're doing, For sure. And because you can do this stuff and like, I'm doing it to be good and helpful. I'm doing it to be profitable, but I'm also doing it for, to show people what we're capable of. All right. So Neal, someone's listening now and they say, all right, I'm going to check this guy out, at least just to see what they look like, because people, I know people don't think no, just kidding. You're not as handsome as everybody thinks you are. Is it like you sound better? You're sounding. I think you're a handsome guy. Oh, go on, keep going. Look like a hot mess. I am. You can see it. Like my hairline's ripping back. I'm really having a hard time with that. I think I'm gonna take some of this COVID money and get some hair plugs. What do you think about that? Both of us have good-looking wives and children, so I know we fooled somebody at least. Absolutely. Right. So just keep your mouth shut and keep going. Yep. Yeah. All right, Neal. So people say, all right. They get done driving. They say, we're gonna go to Neal's site and check this out. You actually have a marketing person on your staff, right? So that's always been very difficult for me. Like the sales people versus the marketing people. I use a team of freelancers, and I'm going to start using them more and more. So like I just started working with someone to do the copy for my website. I saw that. That looks nice. Yeah. And she was really great. So I'm going to use her to build my ebook, which is like a 40-page about the Vital 5, the 5 nutrients almost everybody would benefit from. So it's going to be really great. Yeah, you have a division on your website for that, actually. It's that important. Yeah, because, here's the thing about selling supplements. You can find the whales that want to spend $400 and never use a real doctor ever, right? And they want to, spend all of their money on supplements, Wait, why are they whales? Because they're big and fat? That's just like a marketing term. No, they're normally pretty thin. I mean, like I wouldn't call people fat, especially after the M&M consumption that I got going on. So you look like you lost weight, actually. I did. I dropped 20 pounds. And I put on 5, and I've been fluctuating back and forth, and I got another 20. You dropped it on purpose? Intentionally, yeah. So I was getting chunky, and again, I've got a pretty wife, so I can't let that go. Psh, you're married. Got to keep that game up. Who cares? I don't know. I tell you one thing. I've got a horrible personality, though. So Neal, let me tell you one thing, because I'm older than you are. So here's the one thing: if you started this, you can always stop. Don't buy them flowers and stuff on their birthday and Valentine's. You know why? Because they'll come to expect it every year. I get it. Yeah, you don't want to set a precedent. If you've already started, it's not too late. Just tell them business is tough and you don't want to set that. All right, Neal. So I know I brought it up a few times. Who does that, or what is that through? It's very professional. Thank you. So I've been using a graphic designer who does web stuff for 15 years, literally pretty much since I've done my business. He was like a 21-year-old. Maybe that's who I was thinking of when I said marketing person. Yeah, so he's just a graphic designer, so he's really great about the look, and like he's really good, right? And so I trust him pretty implicitly. We have a great relationship, like telling each other to F off, like that whole thing, right? So we've got that level. And so I've been using him, and he's going to probably be part of my team when I create this marketing thing. So my dream is like, listen, I've written every article about vitamins, right? Yeah. So why do you, Mike, need to do that if you want to start selling vitamins, right? So you pay to be a part of our marketing program, and then you get access to all of these articles that you can then weekly print out. Even if you don't have a website, print them and hand them to your patients and say, here's our newsletter on vitamin D this week. Here's our newsletter on fish oil.
He'll help keep all that going.
What he'll do is help you take that and turn it into a branded thing.
Gotcha.
You know? And like really kind of like make it snap like mine does.
Let's talk a little bit about then the actual things that people will see. So they'll go there. What are they going to learn? Let's say they pick up your program. It's a free program, you said.
The free vaccine program.
What are they going to see?
So I'll actually go there and we'll talk all about it. So because it's been so long since I've done it.
The one thing I didn't like about your site is that nude of you on the first page.
Me neither. Oh my God. You just made me snort.
Pass over to that one.
So basically, it's Dr. Neal's Guide to COVID Vaccine Clinics, and it is a supplement school freebie. When you click on it, it's got the course content. So basically, we talk about, the introduction, what I want people to do, what I want people to learn. I give people an overview. I talk about metrics and pacing. Primarily, I talk about the different bottlenecks that slow down the pace and how you have to address each one of them.
The pace for adopting this into your company or the pace for helping people?
No, the pace for immunizing, right? So like I have shot for a goal of 40 per hour to be immunized, right? So in order for 40 people per hour to be immunized, what things need to be addressed and how do you set up your workflow to keep that pace moving, right? Because one of the things about my system here, it's been, it's great. I'm giving people vaccine, but everybody's told me how it's a dream. It's fun. It's a party, right? And really kind of changing the environment and like the perspective around this, right? And so, I want you to not have a nightmare clinic where people are like, that, I'm never going to go back to that place. They didn't have it organized. I want you to have it lean and mean and move people through there. So that way, when they read about like the Javits Center in New York City and how it's like, a 2-hour wait to get a vaccine, like they're like, no way. It was 20 minutes. I was in and out of there, right? So we talk about like how to actually provide the vaccine, how to allocate, manage your allocations, your pods, because there's a lot of numbers coming at you. What I use for signing people up, an appointment scheduling called JotForm. And then I spend a big chunk of time on customer service because one of the biggest things is that it's a customer service nightmare. We got in the first week and a half, 1,000 emails, and they were all pretty much asking the same 8 questions over and over again. So we adopted a ticket management system. We were able to just like copy and paste, basically. They're called macros, the responses. Somebody asks about how to get on the wait list. Here's the response. Somebody asks about who do you immunize? 65 plus. Here's the response.
You'll email that back to them or
send it right back to them and then like closes out the ticket. And it's really kind of, it's really cool. So we kind of talk about that.
And Neal, is this course of yours video or are they reading this?
Video. So,
video. Okay.
So basically on Super Bowl Sunday, I wrote it up and recorded it. And what I will say, I say it in the video, is that it's ugly. It's like not to my normal specs at all, because I just wanted to get it done and get it out there so people can get it, get into it.
Okay, carry on.
So we basically were talking about all of that. What are the pitfalls? What are the things to look out for? I've gone through everything negative with this too. It's not been just a positive experience. Early, I said, okay, we're going to prioritize towards our patients. And that's what it said on the site. And I got turned into the Department of Health because the MOU said I have to open it up for everybody. But I was just using the verbiage to say, listen, I'm going to focus first on my sickest. And I couldn't do that. So somebody turned me in for that.
But you were saying your pharmacy's patients or just the patients that are the sickest?
I said my pharmacy's patients.
They didn't like that.
Yeah. And because, again, I only did that because I literally was typing it. Like it was just like brain to keyboard.
Sure.
And I didn't like have any time to think about it. I just needed to stand it up in 12 hours. And like with, as soon as somebody's like, oh, well, the wording is a little confusing. I'm like, oh, let me fix it. And I fixed it like within the week. You know? But I was more prioritized on getting the doses in people's arms,
Right.
So we had that. We had somebody, and this was the really crazy part. So very early on, especially with that verbiage, they're like, oh, here it is. Another whites only clinic. He's being racist. He's excluding people of color. And I'm like, you certainly don't know me. And like, that should be the last thing out of your mouth, because like, that was actually a huge concern of mine, is making sure people of color are cared for. But then I got put on a map of COVID racial inequities, if you can believe that.
How did they come up with you being racist?
Because again, it was like an exclusive kind of thing, and it was in a white neighborhood, and like,
and most of your
customers are white, and like, and that's just the way it is. Like,
that's just where you are.
This is where I live. So, but and then I was obviously reaching outside of my community to make sure my county community as a whole was taken care of, because that's what I believe we should be doing as leaders in our community. So, but anyway, so that's the kind of, it got ugly. Their energy is so messed up right now. Like frustration and anxiety is turning into anger, and they're directing it at the helpers. And every step of the way, even
that's interesting.
lifelong customers, screaming at me, right?
Wow.
About how unfair it is to what I'm doing. It's like all this craziness. So there is a lot of negative that can be associated with this just because of the climate right now. Everybody wants this to be over. They want their dose. Everybody's trying to buy an iPhone, and there's 4 iPhones.
So they're all at home with probably a little bit too much time on their hands. And here you're trying to help, and they're taking that frustration out on you, and they probably don't even know they're doing it. It's almost like subconscious.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they know what they're doing. It's like,
especially when they throw bricks in your window.
Yeah, like if you think about it, folks go for the jugular just to get your attention, and you and I aren't used to working with the public at large. We have a subset of the public that accept us,
that wants to be with us.
Right. Exactly. Having to service everybody and listen to everybody's nonsense. There was one lady at a clinic recently that I said to her, now that you got your second dose, I never want to see you again.
Really?
She was a nightmare. She wanted to turn me into the HIPAA police because, long story short, there was, with the extreme weather delays, right?
Right.
There was delays in the shipments. And so the governor told me to postpone my clinic, basically. He told all of us to delay it a week because it's going to be a week. And so I did that. And I was managing that. And then the next day, the CDC's like, nope, we got your doses. They're coming tomorrow. Right. So then it was kind of like back and forth. So in the hastiness to try to make sure everybody knows what's real and what's not, I sent out a mass email. I didn't use my MailChimp account. I just was doing it through my email. And I put it in send instead of BCC, blind carbon copy.
Oh, gotcha.
So then it became a nightmare. People responding all. And then I'm going to turn you into the HIPAA police, whatever, HIPAA organization they wanted to, because they said it was a breach of PHI, which it wasn't, of course. But that's what I was trying to deal with in the middle of, manually verifying 528 people are going to come to this clinic and burning all of those hours myself. And so everything that could possibly go wrong has gone wrong. And one of the parts that we talk about in the course is just communication. How, if you goof up the communication even a little bit, it just creates tenfold work for you. I sent out an email saying no doses this week, right? And what I meant to say was no first doses this week, right? Because we still have our second dose clinic. And even though people had their appointments scheduled for their second doses, and I've said 1,000,000 times that second doses are guaranteed, they're going to be there no matter what, we got 75 emails, where's my second doses? So then you have to process 75 emails. I'm think that takes a lot of money and effort.
Yeah, it does.
So, but again, our volume right now is justifying the fact that we have a full-time customer service person. Plus, with my Dr. Neal stuff, I'm going to need a full-time service person, customer service person anyway, answering the emails and stuff like that.
How do you keep this focused on the emails and away from phone calls?
So basically, we have just shut the door on phone calls, as everybody has. Our phone system, and this is something that we cover in the class, is how to manage the customer service nightmare.
Yeah.
But essentially, we just create a layered approach. So phones, we put an auto attendant that says, we're not going to talk about this. If you have a question about COVID, hit 1. And then it sends it to the COVID voicemail.
Gotcha.
And then the customer service person will call them back. Right. But then in the COVID voicemail, it answers the most common questions.
And then it sort of promotes email more than leaving a message, probably.
Right. And it says, go to the website. This is where the information is. Leave an email. We'll call you back at our nearest convenience, which could be up to 4 business days.
So they get better service through email and reading the Q&A first.
Of the thousands of emails we've gotten, 8 questions, and then maybe 20 of them are truly unique questions.
Is the whole thing of people being pissed, does that fall into the whole
entitlement?
Yeah, entitlement.
Totally.
And people are taking care of me and you better do this.
No, it's an entitlement attitude. Everybody has it. We like to tell stories in this country about the different types of people, team A, team B, blue, red, all of that stuff. We're all the same jerk. Really that's what it is. There's so many of us that no matter which side of it, because again, I'm in Hippieville, liberal town, USA, and I have people clawing and scratching at doses. And one of my patients said, it's not fair. He's 68, right? And he's totally healthy. He's fit. He's better looking than me.
Impossible.
How come you didn't give me a dose? And I'm like, dude, so do you want me to not give the dose to the NAACP elders in a town that's been forgotten with this? Would you rather have gotten that dose, Mr. Liberal hippie dude? You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought, like, we want to be inclusive and take care of everybody, right? I thought that's our ethos.
The whole entitlement is, we've suffered for a year and now the U.S. government owes me, because this is basically a U.S. government program, right?
I kind of feel like it's more like, how come they got it, not me, right? So, like, it's hard.
Whoever else got it is they.
Whoever else got it. Yeah. And so, like, you know, people are making up all sorts of stories. So, like, I'm not happy that, like, some of these senators that have made this COVID crisis worse, right, via their rhetoric are getting doses. They're 50. Like, no. And you've been a jerk about it. So why are you going to be the first one in line, right? And so I kind of get that too. Like, F you, dude. Like, you know, whatever. And so, and then some of these people are looking, they're going, well, that person got it, and I think they're healthier than I am, and I should have gotten it. And everybody's got an idea of how it all should work, but they don't understand the implications for trying to do a program like this. This is a what really should have happened, 75 and above should have been handled by the National Guard. They should have set up in every high school across the country. And if you're 75 and above, bring your ID, come get your shot Monday through Friday, these times, right? If you're letters A through D, you come on Monday, D through J, you know, and like do it like that, and then just have them go and get that, because the big obstacle for the seniors is the technology, right? And the access to the internet, and like just how to fill out a web form. I'm convinced that no adult in this country should be legally allowed to use a computer based on the crap that we've had to deal with. We had a signature thing on our form, like sign your name with the mouse, right? So, you know, you've done that a million times, right?
Right.
People had no idea how to do it. I had to delete it off the thing and just say, type your name, you know, like that's how crazy this whole thing has been.
Have the 75 and older, they don't do a computer. They show up with their ID basically, and they're told what to do, and it gets done.
And then we can move to everybody else, because everybody else has the skill set to manage all of that, you know?
That's interesting. That's true.
My pursuits have been to try to equalize some of the inequities. That's what I've made my goal. I saw really quickly that if you had these computer issues, if you were divided along these racial lines, especially in certain communities, if you had transportation issues, those are the three main things that would stop you from getting a COVID vaccine. So I've been trying to address them in some degree, 20, 30% every single time. So I did something called the Road Show. I worked with like Baptist churches and like all different groups, like senior housing. And I went on the road and I gave 300 shots over 9 hours myself with 3 volunteers. And it was a crazy, crazy day. And I did that for first and second doses. So I've done that now a couple times. And so this week, it's this cache, right? 3,200 doses, potentially 3,800 if I can get those extra doses pulled out of the vial. And I said to all of the groups that have been contacting me saying, how can you help my people that are, you know, hard up, you know, that are being excluded? And so my idea was, let's dump everybody's name and phone number into a spreadsheet, and then I'll have my volunteer army call 20 people and reserve them a spot in our clinic. So right now, as we speak, in fact, one of the things I've been looking at every now and again is the email, because we're adding more and more volunteers. We have a total of 50 volunteers right now in this spreadsheet, and each of them are calling 20 people and trying to reserve a spot for these seniors, right? So that way, once and for all, the people that are the highest risk, the ones that are left out in the cold, are addressed. So that way I can stop all this extra work, because I want people to think that this is what you have to do. This is what I've wanted to do, and that's how I've built these programs. And like, but I want these folks to be spoken for and cared for. That's my impact. That's what I'm going to, my like legacy here is that we tried, but then it's over, because it is so much work. Short
of the National Guard, what you're doing is knowing that the elderly might have trouble getting in. So you're having people call them and take them by the hand and welcome them in. Right. So basically we call an elderly person and say, we're going to give you a COVID vaccine. We're going to schedule your appointment. What's your name? What's your address? What's your date of birth? Do you have COVID? You know, do all those screening questions. And your appointment is this time at this place this week. And we'll see you then. And how do you get those names again, Neal? All the different community groups, because one of the pieces is like community groups are a good way to kind of like take away big swaths of people at a time, right? So I've had local doctor's office say, listen, I've got 500 patients that don't have access, right? And so we took their list, dumped it in there, and then we took, you know, this
Baptist church and we dumped it in there. We took a couple aldermen from one of the city, right? The city council guys, they went through their neighborhood and they gathered up names, right? And then they put it in this list. And then my volunteers are calling to try to get them access to the vaccine where they otherwise wouldn't. Because if I just went by my wait list, it's a lot of people that can handle this, that aren't really at the highest risk of dying, even though they're 65.
Right, and they're the ones that are first going to get on the wait list because they got their phone, it's text to them, they know how to click on the blue link that seems to take them to your pharmacy. They try out these 2 or 3 avenues of the websites, it doesn't work, but they know the 4th one. They know all this stuff, and unfortunately, the people that are arguably the smartest with that are, practically in the least need of it.
Yeah, that's what I feel 100%. So what I said to my staff before I left, because my staff is like they're training the volunteers and they're also making the phone calls. And I said to them, this is it. Like, this sucks. I know it. And I said, but this is good work. And I said, this is the last that will do this. So I want you to just punch through to the other side. Tuesday, 3:00, it's over. We're done doing these road shows. We're done doing this. We've made our effort stronger than any other pharmacy will in this area. And here we are. So let's just punch through, get through this. And then from then on, like if I got 4,000 doses, it's as simple as just sending out an email blast. I've got 9,000 people on my list right now. So a few weeks of that and I'm through my list. But then once people start to hear that I'm moving doses, they're going to all join my list. And there's going to be people coming from all over the place to get the doses.
Was that an arbitrary date that you stopped?
So I'm just basically, we get the allocation on Sunday. So it's official on Saturday. We get word on Sunday that it's coming Tuesday. Right?
Every week,
every week, if we get doses that week, right? So that's the rotation. So then I have to on Tuesday, because the hardest part about this is the planning. And so what I want people to do, take that course so they know what to do and start to like plan out stuff. Because what happens is this crap gets dropped on your lap on a Tuesday, and you got to move it in 7 days. So you got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday before to get rid of it if you want doses in the future. So like you want to. So basically, I spent today and I will tomorrow. We're calling these people while I'm trying to coordinate massive spaces. We're using the high school. We've got the VFW coming to help. Like it's this massive operation at one of the sites. We're going to another site. It's big place. So I've got to do all of that crap while this army is doing this last ditch effort. So I basically said by tomorrow, because in order for me to fill the clinic on Wednesday, I need at least 3 to 4 hours, right?
Oh, you mean they're only done for this week? This starts all over again.
No, I told my staff that we're done doing this good work, this above and beyond stuff.
Forever. Unless something else happens.
Until COVID's over. Exactly. So we're done. This is it. And I decided that because this is so much work. I'm looking at a list of 2,000 people. We've got 50 volunteers, and we got.
When did you decide that?
This afternoon, like when I realized how much mess of it was. Like I was like, we can do this. We got this. But then,
plus, I got to go talk to Kelzer for an hour or so.
I got to talk to Mike. It's got a puppy. We haven't slept in days. Like you could see Mike. Like see these freaking circles, right? Like, oh my god, I'm a hot mess. So, But yeah, I mean, so I'm done with that work. I think it's important that every pharmacy try some sort of outreach to try to address these inequities, to really show how important we are to the community and how we think about the community more than just our patients, right? And like really say, listen, I'm here as a staple of this region and I care. And like, that's what I've said. And I've convinced everybody that it's true because it is. And we've done more than anybody ever has, and we have said that's it. We're done as of this week, and like from here on out, we're going to do what everybody else is doing. We're just going to do it bigger, which is sign up on the wait list, fill out the form. If you can't fill out the form, I'm sorry. Find somebody who can, and they'll fill out the form for you. Because it's just too much. It is a lot of work what we're trying to do here. So,
I imagine that communication is a really big part, and then, like you said. You're just saying right now, once the communication's done, then things get easier. Are we missing something? Did we cover the communication, or is there more besides the outreach? Now, will it get easier for everybody when they're at this point in the course or thought process?
So what I think is important is to kind of go back to one of the original thoughts that I had, is that early on in COVID, I identified that pharmacists can lead by providing direction and truth and just giving people like, this is what you should be doing right now. This is what it is. This is the best information. Saying that we don't know, saying that the science has changed and being honest, right? And so I believe that we still need that. And especially with all this confusion and chaos, because even if people aren't interacting with that confusion and chaos, that's what they're hearing about in their media source of choice. So we need to make sure that our communication is good. So what I decided 2 weeks ago was that I started emailing every Monday, whether or not we had clinics available. So I sent out an email and I said, I don't want you to sit by the phone waiting for something. We don't have doses this week. And then in it has, so see you next week. We'll do this again. Right. And then in it has, to improve communication, here's all the frequently asked questions, right? And then so it's got how does it work? And how do I sign up? How do I remove myself, right? So it has all of that information in there. So every week we've got this cadence to deliver them whether we do or don't have dose. In fact, our update today was update, no update. Because of this added project here that I want to make sure we take care of, I'm not going to tell folks that we have doses for this week until I get those people locked in. So our update this week is basically, we'll tell you tomorrow by 6 o'clock, you will know definitively if we're actually going to get doses, right? And so I think it's just important that we do a good job being better communicators than the state governments, the federal governments, other pharmacies, right? Because it's a big waiting game, people don't know. So just by saying, hey, no doses this week, or by saying, yes, we have doses and this is how you sign up, or let me answer these questions for you.
So it sounds like after the doses come, finding space, actually setting up the chair, the table, the supplies, that's following along a system that may not have many changes. It sounds like the pain in the ass was leading up to basically getting someone in that chair ready to be served.
That's right. There's the pre-clinic work, there's the clinic work, and there's the post-clinic work. So pre-clinic work is what's your system for answering the onslaught of customer service questions? How do people sign up? Are you doing a waiting list? Are you not doing a waiting list? How are you going to notify them? When are you going to notify them? Are you going to do it in store? Are you going to do off-site mass immunization clinics? That's the pre-clinic stuff. The clinic stuff is getting the paperwork ready and all of the people ready, the volunteers, and making sure that all of that's set up. I give everybody an operations manual is essentially what you get with this course. So you get the SOPs, you get the workflow, you get everything. And so you have the clinic operations and how you're going to actually give the shots. And then you have the post where you have to do the data submission to the state. You have to enter the prescriptions. You have to do all of that stuff, right? And so there's those three phases are pretty much what's there. And then, you don't know whether or not you're going to get doses for the next week. So there's, it's the hardest part is that we just don't know if and when this is going to happen. So then you don't know how to allocate your resources. And basically once I stopped getting doses, I said, enough. I'm not going to spend my efforts just waiting for doses. I'm going to go do my business. And if we get doses, then I'll just pick off a couple days and take care of it. Now we're back in the mindset that we're probably going to be doing this pretty hardcore moving forward. Thinking that we're going to be getting nearly 5,000 doses a week is not unrealistic. And so how do we manage that? And so I've got that in the back of my mind. This week is the test. Can I move 4,000 doses in 3 days? The answer is going to be yes. And how do I feel, And so, I think that, it's important that everybody now gets ready, understand how this works, what the pitfalls are, first dose, second doses, how to manage it all, how to kind of get your hands around it. Everybody's loving the course, so I think everybody should take it. Again, it's drnealsmoller.com, and it's NEAL. SMOLLER.com, and doctor is just DR, /courses.
And we'll put a link to that in the show notes too, so people can come and find that easily.
Yeah, I think that's smart, just because I don't have it linked in the header or anything like that. It was just something, again, I just threw up, and unfortunately I haven't had time to make it all pretty, but that's the gig. And you can email me. On the bottom, that email goes directly to me, and we can talk, and I've even been fielding phone calls from pharmacists, so.
You're not going to talk. You're going to send them to one of your...
I'm going to send them my customer service people, and they're going to give them a macro.
You already told us the truth where that thing's going. It's going to the OVO file or whatever they call that thing. Right. Don't try to pull one over on the listeners, Neal. They're too smart.
It's going under G for garbage.
Neal, when is it too late? All right, so this show, let's say that some of these shows have some residual value and people are listening to this. So let's say that this will be out in March, and then someone comes across this in, July, in September, in January, 2022.
Yeah.
When does this become old news versus what date could someone still hear this and say, hey, this has some value still? I mean, current value more than just hearing what's on your mind.
I mean, I really hope that we don't have another pandemic. I believe that, I hope we've learned our lesson to spend the money on pandemic prevention and like kind of keep that stuff in play. So I hope this doesn't happen again. And I don't think that we'll be doing this to the scale that this is happening. I think that the idea of what I'm talking about with everything else is certainly evergreen, and what we mean to the community, what pharmacists can be, how we need to, instead of being led around by the nose of what the practice will be, we need to start driving that decision, and we have to stop with the gimmicks and games, and we have to start building businesses that are sustainable, and some of us need to plan our exit and get into something different and be confident about that, so I think all of that stuff is going to be very relevant for some time for pharmacists.
The show will always have relevancy, but like if someone hears us talking about signing up for a course, and earlier we were saying, well, it's never too late. When is it too late to say, someone's probably taking care of it if they're not listening to this till 2025? This thing's probably done.
Yeah, well, it's totally done. And I think that even if we get to June, because what I'm seeing here is that March is going to be an excess month. Pfizer's ramped up production. Moderna's done the same. They're promising to deliver more doses. The CDC is going to start moving them. Johnson & Johnson's in play, right? And they're going to dump 4 million on us right now, and then 20 million by the end of the month. And so, our immunization rate is approaching 2 million a day already, and we were just hoping for 1 million a day, right, with the first 100 days. And so we're going to get to, I had been saying September. I moved it to June when I had heard Biden's plans, and I'm actually thinking May. I'm thinking by May, we're going to have a huge chunk of folks that are immunized. We're going to have the nicer weather, so we're now not indoors. The kids aren't spreading it as a vector, right? And then the cases are falling. So all of this is going to make a perfect storm for the numbers to go, and then give us time to get more people immunized and get the kids immunized and such. So I believe that if you haven't gotten involved in COVID vaccines by May, you probably should just sit it out. I think that by April, it's going to be difficult to find people that need shots.
I suppose for different areas it could be different, but in general, it's in April, you're going to have a hard time finding customers actually for it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Neal, at what part of any of this have you just shaken your head and said, come on, are you kidding me? Was it to the entitled customers? Was it to staff that you were pissed at? Was it to city government or federal government? Who got the brunt of you saying, come on, I can't believe you're doing this?
Yeah, I think that it was all of the people that have tried to trip me up along the way. Everybody that's used their anger in a wrong way. So from the girl that called me racist, the people that turned me into the Department of Health, to all of these people that are acting in the way that they're acting. It's just been every single one of those. And unfortunately, I'm maladapted, so I enjoy telling people off. So, I've taken tons of time to yell at folks.
For those who haven't put the two together, your podcast is The Big Mouth Pharmacist, right?
You bet. Yeah. So I'm thinking about changing that up and just going holistic, but the wise ass pharmacist would probably be a little bit better. But, I wanted to kind of tie in this idea that I'm kind of I'm talking a lot of smack. But my thought is actually to change the name of the podcast to be a little bit more less about being a big mouth and more about the holistic pharmacist side of things. So, I'm at episode 100. My 100th episode comes out this week. So I feel like, now's the time we can kind of shift, switch it a little bit, take a month off.
Would I have seen already artwork on that or something? Because when I was looking at your stuff earlier today, I was thinking, wait, did Neal change the name of his podcast? Would I have already seen that somewhere or not?
I haven't changed it yet. No, I haven't really been able to look up.
I wonder why. I thought that something in my mind earlier, a couple hours ago, I saw something and I was like, I wonder if he changed something.
No, I've got my, the podcasts are now all at the Dr. Neal site, which is good.
Maybe that's where I saw it.
It's probably just the artwork is all now different,
More subtle or something than it was on there.
It's exhausting. All of this is exhausting. And I need a nap. And that was actually one of my podcast episodes recently.
I saw that.
I need a freaking nap.
I saw that.
So I think that this is a huge opportunity for us to show the merit of independent pharmacy. I think it's an opportunity to make some good income and maybe lick your wounds a little bit better after COVID, because I know a lot of us are using that PPP money to make up for what's going on. And I think that, it's a huge undertaking, so you need help. Don't re-litigate the stuff that I've already learned. Don't learn those lessons on your own. I've already done that. So I think that, take advantage of the course and let's get through this and let's help the story be painted that independent pharmacists made this happen. Not some chain dopes that are rigging the system, but it was independent pharmacists, and come out of this better. And then let's get ready to change pharmacy. So, and join me in my fight. The wellness warrior is my other t-shirt. Become a wellness warrior and start to redefine holistic for people and redefine pharmacy's role in what most people believe is alternative medicine, but I just think is good medicine.
5 years from now, how many hours a week do you want to spend in doing business? And what do you want that week divided into percent of dealing with? We talked a little bit on the last show, but I want to see if it held its mark. What are the answers to those two questions? Amount of hours per week, and where do you want to be spending them, like percentage-wise during the week?
I see COVID as a definitive break. There's a before and after. And it actually coincides with a 5-year plan of mine. 5 years ago, this year, I sold my big practice, my hometown pharmacy. The first year, I actually replace my income. By the third year, I was making more money than I made out of my little pharmacy than I made ever in my big pharmacy. And so then fourth year, 2019 was the DIR fees, and 2020 was the real kick in the teeth. So I'm looking at it going, what do I see for the next 5 years? And for me, I don't see the business of putting pills in the bottle as a big part of my plan. I feel like I would say in 5 years, I would hope to have a private label wholesale supplement business, making the stuff that I want, consulting with lots of entrepreneurs and of all shapes, like pharmacists and more, helping them develop their own supplements with their own names on them, and then teaching patients how to navigate the nightmare that is the wellness industry and get the real information that they need. And so I don't see anything less than 50 hours a week for any of us as entrepreneurs. That's stupid to say, I'm going to do the 4-hour work week. That's BS, right? It's not real. And I see most of my time, I would really like to be the more strategic guy. But I know that over the next 5 years, I'm going to have to be the hands-on guy to really make this Dr. Neal thing sing until we get to scale where I can put in potentially an operations like executive and like management. So I feel like over the next 5 years, it's going to be a big mix between the day-to-day business management, the thought leadership, content creation, and then the coaching and such. So I don't know how I could break that up, but I know that I'm going to be spending a lot of time still spinning lots of plates, but I'm not too sure how pharmacy fits into that. So does that mean that I get a junior partner? Does that mean that, we eventually say goodbye? Does that mean that we just groom a leader to take the mental weight of it out of my head? I'm kind of a visionary, but I don't really like managing folks. It's not my cup of tea.
I've narrowed mine down too, that I don't like people.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because all the stuff we talked about today, we didn't talk about how, you don't like your new blue couch you got, that you should have gotten maybe a beige or something. All of the complaints are about people. So I'm just going to stay away from people, I think.
I think it's a smart move.
Well, speaking of which, what kind of dog did you get?
We got a chocolate lab puppy.
We have a black lab, about a year old. They're beautiful.
Nice. Yeah, they're awesome. So we had gotten a rescue psycho pit bull that ended up just charging at my daughter, even though he was super comfy in the house. She was super comfy. And I had not been a dog person, and so I fell in love with this dog. I'm like, we're getting rid of the damn dog. We're never getting a dog again. And so we ended up getting a chocolate lab, just genetically vanilla puppy, starting from scratch.
That's awesome.
He's really good. like sit, like he's been here for 24 hours and doing the full sit, and like at the door, like before we go to the bathroom, it's like sit, he does the thing, and then he'll wait for us before. And so I'm like, this is going to be great. We're going to have this dog trained. So
I've learned something though, Neal. I was doing a podcast a couple weeks ago and my lab was in here like munching on a bone. And so I thought I got to get her out of here. So I threw it. And like 20 seconds later it was back and I'm like, oh yeah, it's a retriever. No, what was I thinking? Those damn pit bulls. People are like, it's the owners because 20 years ago it was Dobermans and then it was German Shepherds. And so it's just the people. You didn't hear about this. Like, yeah, I don't know. But a pit bull, it's still a pit bull.
Problem is that they're just genetically aggressive to some degree. There's nature and nurture, which is totally legitimate, but they're more likely to snap and rip your face off if something weird hit them, right? Especially a rescue, right? So you're dealing with other people's baggage. But there's plenty of success stories. There's plenty of horror stories. So that's why we just said lab. Like even if you screw it up, it's still going to be a good dog.
Lab is safe even if you screw it up.
Right.
All right, Neal, get some sleep.
I'm going to try, bro. I really appreciate you having me on.
Well, thank you. Thanks for all you're doing. And there's always going to be something that if pharmacists are looking out for, and hopefully it's going to be less of a urgent matter, but there's enough big things out there that we could be doing things on a big scale.
Yeah.
And all these trials and failures, but more successes are going to teach us how to do those kind of things.
I agree with you, man.
Keep it up.
Thanks, Bob.
You've been listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast with me, your host, Mike Kelzer. Please subscribe for all future episodes.